Good afternoon and welcome to Midday Live on TV3. We're coming to you live from our news hub at Adisawe, Kanda. In this edition, two labor unions join in hospital strike in Tamale. Conference of Heads of Private Cycle Schools urge government to include them in the free senior high school program. On the international front, Libyan courts sentences 45 militia men to death for killing demonstrators in 2011. My name is Wendy Lai. We have details of these stories and many more lined up. Do stay with us. Let's start with our stories now. And the New Patriotic Party activist group based in Accra, the I Group, has condemned the Kandahar boys' attack on the Tamale Teaching Hospital CEO, describing it as barbaric, shameless and lawless. The Director of Operations, Nana Riako-Ado Choman, challenged the Kandahar boys to seek job opportunities rather than chasing government appointees out of office.
The Chief Executive Officer for the Tamale Teaching Hospital, Dr. David Zawumia Akoibila, was chased out of his office by irate youth believed to be the Kandahar boys of Tamale on Monday. This is not the first time a CEO of the hospital was chased out of office by the group.
And this is what I want to tell the youth. Our president, whenever we will come out with something or somebody that he wants this person to go and lead, that means the leadership of the governors have teamed up together and advised the president whom to use. So I don't think the youth must come out and then go and lock their office. This is not done anywhere. We have leaders, and they are not only the youth in this country.
Director of Operations Nana Riako-Ado Choman expressed disappointment over the leadership role of the Kandahar boys and allied groups, challenging them to seek the welfare of their members and the country.
If they have good leadership, they will not go out there and go and lock office. Because if they are going, I'm sure their leader will be aware. Rather, they will fight, or they will caution the MC that find us strata, because this place we are farmers, so that we can do some farm. If the leader said, let's go and do the farm, and then push it to our ladies to go and sell it in Accra, definitely 3 months, 4 months, we will get money. Everybody will follow the leader.
Nana Riako-Ado Choman, whilst commending the move by the Tamale Metropolitan Chief Executive to restore order, appealed to the health workers at the hospital to call off the strike.
Definitely we will have patients that they need to attend to. So we are begging them, they should go back. I know the president will not turn his back on them. The moment the DC have assured them that they are going to be safe, they are going to be safe.
So we're staying a while longer on this story, and TV3 News can confirm that the two unions have joined the nurses and doctors for their ongoing strike at the Tamale Teaching Hospital. The Ghana Association of Radiographers and Anesthetists at the Tamale Teaching Hospital announced they are joining their colleague doctors and registered nurses and midwives following the attack on the CEO a few days ago. Our Northern Regional Correspondent Zubaida Ismail spoke with the Public Relations Officer Dr. Ken Osemensa on the way forward.
The situation remains the same. All the professional groupings that declared a strike after the Monday incident are still on strike, including the doctors, the nurses, the medical lab scientists. This morning, I understand that some other groupings have also proceeded to strike.
He also reiterated the need to meet the demands of the unions so work can commence.
Indicated earlier, the radiographers have also declared that apparently they were given the police some amount of time to be able to arrest the people who came here they've realized that hasn't been able to happen. And so they have also declared a strike. The other group that have also declared a strike is the Ghana Association of Anesthetists in the Tamale Teaching Hospital. And so it keeps, the situation is becoming more and more precarious as more groupings in the hospital leave. Even right now, if the doctors decide to come back and the anesthetists are not there, it is impossible for them to do operations in this hospital because you will need an anesthetist, part of the team, to administer the anesthesia before you can do your surgeries and your procedures. So it is becoming a more precarious situation as the time goes on.
Meanwhile, a handful of patients who arrived on Thursday morning, August 16, for medical services are left stranded.
All right, so this afternoon we'll be speaking to a security analyst shortly, but yesterday the police released 4 persons they had arrested earlier because they were not culprits in this very story, Ed, which has to do with the Tamale Hospital attack. And joining me this afternoon in the studio is Adam Bonai, security analyst. Good afternoon, sir, and thanks for your time.
Good afternoon.
Now, I just mentioned that the police arrested some 4 persons they released because they were not culprits. And one thing you have mentioned over and over again has to do with police intelligence and how they go about their work and even picking up this information. What do you make of this?
Thank you very much. Once again, good afternoon, and good afternoon to your cherished viewers and the team at Security Warehouse Limited. First of all, before I answer your question, I would want to say the health workers should go back to work. The truth is that they shouldn't allow this to go on so that innocent people
but this
will
is
die.
The first time it's happened.
It's not the first time.
I'm sure the culprits knew it was a hospital. Yes, they engaged in that action.
I think as a nation we understand their plight, but that notwithstanding, it could have been any one of us finding our way into that facility, and because of this attitude of these criminals and hoodlums, I mean, they say they won't work and probably something could happen. But now coming to the main issue, I think that the police in the region have failed woefully, because first of all, if you look at procedure, one would say the police in the region, the BNI, call them the national security together with the police, should have had, these people properly mapped up. I mean, you know them, the various groups. And so in security, what you do is you would have to infiltrate them. They didn't do all that to pick information. Informant to bring information, they didn't do that. Then eventually yesterday, after some of us, I mean, the whole country is not happy with it. The Minister of Interior has spoken. I'm sure well-meaning Ghanaians have all spoken against it. Then they showed some bravado, went and arrested these people. Then all of us clapping for them for trying to put up, some hard face, only to hear this morning that they've all been released because they picked up the wrong person. Then you say, okay, first of all, you didn't do what was right before arresting them. Sorry, before this thing happened. Subsequently, you should have, investigated, done a bit of investigation. You went and arrested them, and then only to realize they are not the culprit. So for me, the police in the region have a lot of answers to provide to the people of Ghana, because we expect them to be professional police, career police officers. It is the reason why we are paying them. And so this type of attitude from the police is what is, making most people in the country think the police is not up to task.
But could it be that you mentioned that doctors are striking, other colleagues have joined them, yourself and other analysts have spoken about this issue, the country is making noise about it, and then they go and make arrests because possibly there's so much noise about it. Is it just enough? You've spoken about professionalism, but how best could they have done this in connection to the citizenry or residents they're helping out? Because these people live in communities, they have family members, even their party members know them.
No, let me tell you something. Let's not try to shield the police in this. If you was a police officer who was attacked, I am telling you, they would have dug the person out of a rat hole. You remember an incident that happened there some years ago when Combian attacked some police officers and killed some of them? They arrested Combian in Togo. Togo is not in Ghana. They are in the region. When Combian attacked police officers, shot at them and dead the police. The police dead Combian and dared him with his juju and arrested him in, what do you call it, Togo. And so they can't give us that excuse of saying the people live with us. We expect, yes, we are supposed to help them with information. But when information is not coming, the reason why they are police officers is to ensure that we live peacefully. And so when people attack a health facility, you see, even at war, it is against whatever reasoning to attack a health facility. During war times, health facilities are not supposed to be attacked. And so in a peaceful country like ours, when a health facility such as the Tamale Teaching Hospital, I think it's about the biggest in the whole of the northern region, the whole of the 3 northern regions. So for the facility to be attacked, and then is it 72 whatever hours on, they arrest some people and release them and still tell us that the people live with us.
Okay, but now let me hold you there. News just in is that the leader of the Kandahar boys has been arrested. He was on the run. So we're trying to reach our regional correspondent. As and when we get her, we'll speak to her for her to give us the update on this very issue. So the news in is that the leader of the Kandahar boys has been arrested.
Well, I mean, I think we would have to hold on. If you look at, let's not begin to sing the praise of the police, because looking at where we've just come from, less than 24 hours, let's wait and see if they don't release this leader. Because yesterday when I was viewing the video of those who were doing the press release about this are not our boys, I mean, I'm sure if they did a proper review, they would realize that those who were in the initial video, some of them were in that video. And so for me, I think the police, we need to ask the regional police command. It's not the entire police. But you see, this thing has been going on in the region.
Yes.
And the only way to stop it is to ensure that when these things happen, people are arrested and punished. In the Upper West, you know, when it happened a few months ago, those hoodlums are facing trial as we speak. They are facing trial. So for me, I think that let's not make it political and say it is MPP, it is NDC. Criminality is criminality.
So I mentioned that earlier on, and you also reiterated a bit about these people also living in communities. Is society failing when it comes to this? They have relatives, they have family members, they have friends. Can't these people also help the police when it comes to investigation, even if they go as whistleblowers?
You know, let me be the informants, what do you call it, the informant regime we have in the country is nothing to write home about. You go to probably report to the police, and the next thing you do, you know, is maybe your information is given out, and you know, whoever you might have given information about to the police is coming after you. And so it's a whole discussion entirely, because these people live amongst us. But then the process of informing sometimes is something that we have to look at and say, okay, what do people get when they give information? Because I know there's supposed to be something there for informant. As to whether that is, you know, being followed, I will not be able to tell, because then if you do and something happens to you, probably even moving you to another location where these people might not get you becomes something tricky.
Thank you so much for speaking to us this afternoon. Adam Bona is a security analyst. So we'll follow up this story in relation to the Tamale Teaching Hospital and the arrest made so far, and we'll bring you some more updates on that. You're still watching Midday Live. The Conference of Heads of Private Second Cycle Schools has called on government to factor private schools into the free senior high school program. They noted that the policy is gradually collapsing their institutions, but their facilities could help absorb a lot of students to avert the double tracking system.
Government doesn't put students to where they will go to school. I think you have lived in this country for a long time. Sometimes the questions you have to confront the answers yourselves. Does government choose schools for people and students in Ghana here? So how can a private man tell me, a minister of state, to choose a student for his or her school? In Ghana, it has never happened that way. When kids go and write the BEC, they choose the schools they want to go to. And it's a problem, even with the computer. If the computer places a kid in the school they don't go, you hear. Journalists have been to me even last year, asking, some kids are saying they were not sent to that, they didn't choose that school, why am I going there? So I don't choose schools for the kids. The kids, please, the kids choose the schools they want to. So if the kid hasn't chosen the school, I cannot force. It's like a kid saying, I'm not going to school in Ghana, I'm going outside. There's no compulsion here. So I don't choose the schools. So any school the kid has chosen, they will try and put the kid in that school.
And panelists on TV3's New Day program have expressed divergent opinions on government's decision not to send students to private senior high schools under the free senior school program. Now, MP for Myong, Mohammed Abdulaziz, suggested that bringing on board private schools will forestall the double-track system. Kamal Din Abdullahi of the NPP, however, argued that private schools, which are business institutions, will cash in and charge more than approved fees.
You know,
I can understand what Prakapa can do to a good friend like Kamal.
Yo, really? You know when you are in a position, you run into hibernation. It's not really easy.
Oh, is that so? I thought that's where you have to be seen more.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes, because then you need to appeal to the people. So.
Well,
all right. And Kamal is hurrying back your position.
See, they got dazed after the elections, and ever since they've not recovered.
Okay, I'm grateful, gentlemen. Let's start our conversation. Now, let me take a look at the time this morning. On the infrastructure, we'll deal with about 4 issues with the Deputy Education Minister's press conference. So we'll be quick with each of the issues. First of all, let's deal with the infrastructure. On page 6.
Well, welcome that and bring you that soundbite shortly. But this afternoon, I do have someone in the studio, which is Naftali Cheba, for he's a public relations officer of the National Association of Private Secondary Schools. Good afternoon, Naftali, and thanks for
Wendy. Thanks for having me.
Now, you heard the minister and the comments he made. What do you make of that?
Wendy, let me say a very big good afternoon to your terrorist viewers once again. And I feel it's quite unfortunate. I think we need to really explain the system for them to understand.
Is it that government has not understood where you're coming from?
I think so. And it's so clear. What we're saying is that there is no need for a double track system. It's not necessary. The headache of government is where to place 181,000 candidates. As a result of this, government is resorting to a desperate measure of double track. Why? You have 946 schools. Out of that, you have 696 being public. They are the beneficiaries of free SHS. It means that statistically, you have 250 schools left, which are private schools. Granted, you even post 500 to each of this, on the average, to each of these private schools, you're going to have 125,000.
But actually, you do agree. The minister has a point that he's not the one who selects schools for these.
This is exactly what I want us to establish. One, until you enroll the private school into the free SHS system, then that cannot work.
But what's the guarantee that people or parents would, or children themselves would even want to go to private schools?
People are interested but are scared coming to pay. Are people not really enjoying it?
How are they scared? Because there are other private schools where parents take their children there. So how are they scared?
This is what the ministry is not getting. We have 2 kinds of private schools. We have the kind of dollarization kind of private school who run the British curricular system. So people are interested based on the orientation of what you want to do. I want to do O-level, A-level. We are talking of the second category that runs the Ghanaian curricula as well. And that's the kind of private school we are talking about. And what we are saying is that if you allow such schools equally to be part of the free SHS, our agreement with government is that same amount that is earmarked for a student in a public school, that same amount, private schools are ready to take exact amount. So our facilities are available, our resources are available, our staff available. You don't need to run a double track when you have everything already in place.
Okay, so if I got you clearly, you're mentioning that you're not on the school placement system. Is that it?
As we speak, we are no longer on it because of free SHS. Because if anybody comes there, he's supposed to pay. So put us on the free SHS policy, where any student that is posted to that school or who chooses that school that comes would equally pay the same amount government is charging in public schools. Very simple.
But it's free. So who do you expect to pay that fee, government or parents?
Where are they going? Government is supposed to pay. I'm having an NHIS card. If I go to a private hospital and I receive their services, who pays? Government pays. So instead of still parking them in public schools and we have empty facilities, let them come. pay that same amount you would have paid to the public school to us to run.
Now, one thing that has come up over and over again, yesterday you were at a stakeholders meeting. Now, you met with various stakeholders, which includes the ministry and the minister as well. You've been making a lot of noise about this. Is it that you're not making any headway at all? You've mentioned that it seems government is not understanding you. When last did you meet these relevant stakeholders on this issue? Yesterday, you met all of them.
I was there.
You made a presentation yourself. What is happening?
You see, we feel that government is looking at it from the angle where the whole plan did not have the private schools in mind. And that is fundamental. And we still think it's not too late. Government should not misconstrue in a situation where you feel you are investing into the private school. That is where the miscommunication is coming. They feel by allowing the student to come into private school, you are investing into the private school. And per the constitution, government cannot invest into a private school. You are not investing into private school. Your investment is on the child. And this is where we should get it so clear.
So what's the way forward for you? Are you planning to meet the minister again? Are you planning to meet other stakeholders again?
The truth is one. I think we have made our case so clear. We have met the minister. We have met all stakeholders we are supposed to meet. If it still does not turn out to be positive, we are still maintaining the current system we have. First term, second term, third term, we're still running it. And we'll surely meet at the same angle to write the final paper, because we still believe in it. We only have to encourage our members to equally equip themselves so well that we can equally produce the best.
Thank you so much. Naftali Chebafor is the Public Relations Officer of the National Association of Private Schools. That's private secondary schools. And next, we have MTN Video Report.
These structures here are built to support the community, young people who are supposed to attain basic education. But as we can see, the structure has been built up 13 years ago. And some few years down the line, the structure is deteriorating. These poles here were used to support part of the zinc. The structure is collapsed. This was built by World Vision to support the community. It's used by the headmaster to keep the school documents, registers, notebooks. This is supposed to be a classroom under this tree. This is their board, chalkboard. This is where they learn. This is Jesse Dagwin, reporting from Sirgu, Upper East.
You can also send your videos to our WhatsApp platform, which is 0551433044, 0551433044. You're still watching Midday Live with me, Wendy Lai. Do stay. Thanks for staying. Let's do business now. And the Ghana Stock Exchange has announced the suspension of the listing of Pioneer Kitchenware Limited on its market. The suspension, which takes effect from today, August 16, is due to the company's current status of not being in production for some time now.
In February last year, the Pioneer Kitchenware Limited submitted to the Ghana Stock Exchange a request to voluntarily delist the company from the GSE's main market to enable the directors to restructure the company. According to the GSE, PKL has since withdrawn the request with the intention to restructure its operations and remain listed. However, the GSE said under its regulation, the GSE's Rule 13, Subsection 4, a listed company may be delisted on grounds of non-disclosure regarding its continuing listing obligations or if the financial situation of the company is significantly threatened. The Pioneer Kitchenware Limited is currently not in production, and therefore the GSE has decided to suspend the listing status of PKL with immediate effect, adding that if and when the restructuring of the company is successfully concluded, the suspension will be lifted. Otherwise, the Pioneer Kitchenware Limited will be compulsory delisted at the end of December 2018.
The Bank of Ghana has approved the proposal by Sahel Sahara and Omni Bank to consolidate their operations into one entity to help meet the new minimum capital requirement of the 400 million Ghana cedis. The approval was communicated at the two banks on August 14, paving way for the board and management of Sahel Sahara Bank and Omni Bank to announce their merger deal later this month.
Say the boards of the two banks had been locked in meetings to finalize the plan and allow for actual integration of their respective operations to start. While Omnibank is owned by Dr. Joseph Siao Ejapon and his wife, Sahel Bank is owned by 13 Sahelian countries and has been operating in the country since March 2009. Sahel Sahara's merger with Omni follows its decision to exit an earlier merger deal with GN Bank and Premium Bank. The consolidation of the two banks is to create a stronger bank that can meet the Bank of Ghana's new minimum capital requirement of 400 million by December this year. Discussions on a merger between the two banks started in July this year, but firmed up towards the end of that month. Consequently, a presentation on the merger was made to some staff of the Banking Supervision Department in the week ending August 10. One source said the central bank gave a no objection response to the merger presentation.
And the Association of Finance Houses Ghana has launched a code of ethics to guide the operations of finance houses in Ghana. Head of Banking and Supervision at the Bank of Ghana charged finance houses to adhere to the structure of ethics to avoid problems in the sector.
We have the savings and loans, we have the finance houses, we have leasing and mortgage companies. These put together principally constitute the non-bank financial institutions. The Bank of Ghana, the regulator, has recently taken decisive interventions to address a number of weaknesses in the banking sector. These weaknesses have threatened the financial stability of our economy. The document that we have before us should not just exist because we decided to put the document in place. We have to live by this document. We have to make sure that we implement the document. It is by implementing the content and forcing the content of the document that we can ensure that the vulnerabilities that we have observed in the sector, which have contributed to the situation in which we find ourselves now, will be addressed.
From the banking sector, the Africa Center for Integrity and Development is calling on President Akufo-Addo to sack the board chairman of BOSS, Dr. Kwame Echampong-Kyei, over the collapse of Sovereign Bank, of which he was its board chairman. Now, the think tank is blaming Dr. Kwame Echampong-Kyei for the alleged fraud perpetuated by Sovereign Bank in the acquisition of its license to operate as a universal bank.
Sovereign Bank is one of the 5 banks whose operating license was revoked by the Bank of Ghana. The regulator noted the bank obtained its license by false pretense through the use of suspicious and non-existent capital. The bank was insolvent and unable to meet its daily liquidity obligations, and having received liquidity support to the tune of 21 million cedis.
Dr. Echampong-Kyei holds a public office. He's the current board chairman of BOSS, and he's directly involved of the Sovereign Bank collapse. So we are calling on the president to sack him, or he himself should resign. At the time of the establishment of the Sovereign Bank, he was the board chairman. At the time they went and took the license in false pretense, he was the board chairman. Clearly, he's complicit, and he should be shown the exit.
The think tank argued that Dr. Kwame Echampong-Kyei is not fit to continue being the board chairman of a highly sensitive national security installation as BOSS.
Dr. Echampong-Kyei and his team were culpable in deceiving Bank of Ghana and then also deceiving depositors that they have a license to operate a bank that did not have capital to operate. And that is why we're calling for his removal. Secondly, like we said, Dr. Acheampong is occupying a sensitive state institution, which is BOST. You know, BOST already, they have been embroiled in a lot of issues.
And that's all for business this afternoon. But to health now, and more than 60% of people with tuberculosis in Ghana are left undiagnosed or unreported. Ghana's first National Tuberculosis Patient Cost Survey indicates the proportion of tuberculosis patients living in poverty before the tuberculosis diagnosis is greater in general than Ghana's population. But while tuberculosis patients battle with the disease, they also place economic burden on households, worsening existing levels of income.
It sent me out of the house. I left the house and I became a skeleton walking on the streets. Even sometimes there is no food. I have to go begging people before I'll get something to eat.
Alhassan Musa's story reflects what persons cured from TB go through. TB patients incur huge costs from medical and transport costs associated with seeking and receiving health care. Such costs in turn affects health outcome and increase the risk of transmitting the disease and making them impoverished. TB is one of the main causes of deaths related to antimicrobial resistance and the leading killer of persons with HIV. Launching a policy dialogue on Ghana's first National TB Patient Cost Survey, the Deputy Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Gloria Kwanzaa-Sarri, noted findings will be used to implement strategies to end TB by 2030. World Health Organization representative Dr. Owen Kalua indicated majority of TB patients face catastrophic costs and requested the needed support for TB. MP for Dafir Mabuse Isa Dr. Sebastian Sandare said the lawmakers will put in the needed support to cut down the cost on TB patients.
The timelines will have to do with their budget, because whatever we do would have to fit in with the annual budget, and that is when we will be serious when we are debating the budget or going through the budget. We ensure that health as a whole gets its fair share of the national budget.
More than 10 million people fell ill with tuberculosis, of which 1.7 million people lost their lives globally in 2017.
Away from health, state-owned transport company Intercity STC has entered into a 5-year private-public partnership with GN Logistics over the management of its parcel unit. The move forms part of initiatives to revamp the company's operations to deliver value.
Operational challenges, including inadequate number of buses, have over the years adversely affected the once vibrant Intercity State Transport Company ISTC, which offered intercity transport services to all regional capitals and major towns across the country, as well as other West African countries. The private-public partnership with GN Logistics is part of efforts to enhance its operations and deliver quality service.
And when you add the other indirect savings, we are likely to be getting about 300,000 cedis a month guaranteed from these arrangements. And also our parcels division will be getting, we hope, state-of-the-art equipment and logistics to deliver value to the customer.
Managing Director of ISTC, Nana Kumia, said the company would continue to engage the private sector in a bid to reclaim its position as the market leader in the transport sector.
Valuation department is also going to engage a private partner with proven ability who will bring in modern equipment. Also, we are establishing a new vehicle inspection, what we call the roadworthy. Also, with engagement with the private sector, who are going to build the facilities to be able to provide services to buses, to trucks.
Head of Business, GN Logistics, Benjamin Hyde, encouraged other organizations to partner with state-owned companies to deliver excellent services. ISTC intends to open 3 more bus terminals at Medina, Kaswa and Amasaman by close of the year.
And next we have sports with Nana Kojofre. Don't miss it. Let's start with our stories now. And the Libyan criminal court has sentenced 45 militiamen to death by firing squad for killing demonstrators in Tripoli in 2011. The Justice Ministry says they are accused of opening fire on dozens of rebel forces closed in the capital during the uprising against former leader Colonel Muammar Gaddafi. It is thought to be the highest number of death sentences handed out since the overthrow of the regime, AFP reports. Now, Libya has struggled to restore peace since the uprising 7 years ago. Beside the 45 sentenced to death, 54 more were given 5-year jail terms and another 22 were acquitted of charges relating to demonstrator deaths. It was not known when the accused were arrested, charged, or prosecuted. Away from Libya, a Malaysian court has ruled that the evidence against 2 women accused of murdering the half-brother of North Korea's leader is strong enough for the case to go to trial. Kim Jong-nam died in Kuala Lumpur's airport last year after a toxic VX nerve agent was rubbed on his face. You're still watching Midday Live. We do have more. Do stay. Thanks for staying. Let's go back to our earlier story where I read that premix fuel shortage looms as fisher folks in Jamestown struggle for the products to stay in business during the August bumper season. The product became scarce at the Jamestown Beach Premix Point Thursday as fishers waited anxiously for their supply for the next expedition. Shortage of premix has been constant during the peak seasons. The news team spoke to the chief fisherman at Jamestown.
I've been getting about 100 crates, some 20 crates, some 30 crates. So most of them are also struggling to get the fuel. So it seems since we are in the season, the supply that is coming is not adequate.
It's now time for entertainment. And some good news here. Onua FM, a subsidiary of Media General Group, is geared up for the maiden edition of a rap show, Akasimu. The show, which promises to be exciting, will be hosted by Ace radio personality Isaac Duncan Williams, popularly known as Dr. Duncan.
Of course, like you always know, we bless the microphone. When we come on air, the youth get excited. So we've got amazing stuff coming your way. All you need to do is to tune in to 95.1 Akasimu and just check it out, because we've got surprises for you. We've got real superstars, raw talents coming through.
And that'll be all for this afternoon. But to end the bulletin, let's take a look at the headlines again. And 2 new labor unions join in the hospital strike in Tamale. Conference of Heads of Private Second Cycle Schools urge governments to include them in the free senior high school program. On the international front, a Libyan court sentences 45 militiamen to death for killing demonstrators in 2011. I am Wendy Lai. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of our programs. Do have a lovely afternoon.